Hey guys, Tony Porter, Cards and Dice TV. Welcome to an authentic unboxing, or inauthentic, or counterfeit, or whatever you want to call it. During COVID, I bought a bunch of items during COVID, and I was still working, so I didn't really have that much time to get to everything. So ultimately, I left a lot of things and never really opened them up. So now, as we progress, week by week, month by month, I'm discovering stuff, and I'm saying, "Wow, this is cool. Let's unbox it. Let's look into it. Let's look at it." I haven't really looked at it. I didn't really know I had it. Let's see what it is. All right, guys, this is what I was able to rip out of that huge box. And it looks like it's APA. I'm going to use a magnifying glass since I lost my glasses again. So it looks like it's APA 1974 is what it says. It looks to be, from just looking at the roster sheet and extra player sheet and another blue sheet in there, it looks to be pristine. I mean, I literally don't think this was ever opened or played with. Well, let's see if I'm correct. $1974. It's a long time ago. Okay, here it is. Wow. This is real thin paper, super duper thin. It also has the additional players for the 1975 edition. So it's got these two things. Now it's got another document, or another item. This is the player injury chart. It's got a little stain on it on the upper, well, the top, more towards the right, but starting at the top left. Has instructions, information on the back. This is the injury table, so you know how long your player is injured for. Obviously, fours are injured for much longer. And this is some of the advice I've given. This could easily be used for fall classic baseball. Guys have been saying, well, you know, I don't play actual lineups, so I want to have injuries, but it doesn't give me a lot of injuries. And I said, well, that's really easy to create. You know, just you can check after every game for injuries. You can check when you roll a certain number, like a certain unusual play, or a number that doesn't come up all the time. And you can check to see the player who is a fielder by rolling a D10. 0-0 means the offense. All the other numbers are a defensive player. From 1 to 9, I guess, would be 1 would be a pitcher, 2 would be the catcher, 3 would be the first baseman, and so on and so forth. And he could get injured as a batter the next inning. You could carry it over to the next inning and say, okay, he's not injured until, or he doesn't notice the injury until he bats the next inning. And of course, you can use this. These are players who played basically 150 games. These are players who played 140 games or more, 130 games or more, 120 games or more. Obviously, this guy's out for 37 days. So anything less than 120 games would be, I guess, 4. That's one way of looking at it. I mean, you could analyze it and say, wait a second, this number adds to more than 162, but I don't see it adding up. The most you can get injured as a 4 is 40 games. So say 100, if you played 120 games less in a season, you would be a 4. If you played anywhere between 120 130, it would be a 3. 130 and 150 would be a 2, and if you played 150 or more, it would be a 1. And that's how you'd figure out your injury days. Yeah, cool stuff. There's another document here which I haven't seen. I don't remember with APA. Of course, I would when I was a kid. I wasn't really looking for attempts for steal, second base, pitcher, catcher. Let's see what this is all about. Right-hander with 1 fielding point, no change. Right-hander with 2 fielding points, subtract 1 point. I don't know what this is. Never seen this before. Included in the 74 set is a special pinch running card for Herb Washington. This is the document that they've been talking about that I've never seen before. Washington cannot be used at bat or to play any position in the field. He can be used only as a pinch runner. And then the numerical ranges for successful steals mentioned above are altered by the pitchers' and catchers' ratings as follows. Above, declaring an attempted steal, the manager rolls the dice, combines them in the normal manner, refers to the dice roll number on Washington's card, and finds the red result number there. If it is any number from 1 to 24 inclusive for attempted steals of second, or 1 through 17 inclusive for attempted steals of third, he steals safely, except as the adjustments explained below. And then it has some adjustments for pitcher and catcher. This is a fascinating document. Of course, it's a little bit stained, or I don't know what that is exactly on the right side there, but that's very cool. I've never seen that before. I've heard a lot about it, but now I have one. Very cool. Now I feel like I know what everybody's talking about. Unfortunately, the document is a little bit damaged. Looks like, I don't know what that is exactly. It could be the sun. It could be different things. I'm not sure. Age. All right, so let's see what we got here. Why is 74 important? That's a good question. I like that you asked that question. Let's look at why we should play this season, right? Why should we even care? It was the Dodgers over the Pirates 3-1 in the NLCS. In the ALCS, it was the Oakland Athletics over the Baltimore Orioles in 1974. The World Series was Oakland over LA 4-1. Let's look at some of the standings and so on and so forth. See if we can see those here. Okay, standings. See if there are any close races that season. In the Eastern Division of the American League, there is. New York Yankees are only 2 games behind the Orioles to end the season. The Red Sox 7 games behind. So there is definitely a pennant race between the Orioles and the Yankees in the East, the AL East. In the AL West, there's also somewhat of a pennant race between the Texas Rangers, believe it or not. I believe it was Billy Martin, and the Oakland Athletics, who win it. In the Eastern Division of the National League, again a close pennant race between the Pirates and the Cardinals in 74. The Cardinals finished a game and a half behind the Pirates, and in the West it's the Dodgers 4 games ahead of the Reds, so another pennant race. So you had really 4 pennant races, 8 teams involved until the end. Nowadays they'd all be in the playoffs together. So that's very, very cool. Let's take a quick peek at this. Okay, so let's look at some of these playoff teams. Let's look at the team. Let's look at the contenders, the teams that almost made it. The best team was 98-64, and it was the Reds. And of course, they had the big red machine. Back in the day, these sets also I can see come with the extra players. And how many extra players? There were 4 extra players per team. Later on, I know they expanded it to 6. But so far, I would buy these extra players. Once I noticed I only had 20 players, I started to buy these extra players as a kid. So Merv Rettenmund, pretty good outfielder. Terry Crowley, no real home runs here, only a 6. No ones. Bill Plummer, backup catcher. Darrell Chaney, pretty good defender. Look, he plays all the defensive positions fairly well in 74. Third base a 4, second base a 7, and shortstop an 8, so he can definitely fill in. Gagliano is going to be an extra player. You can see the square card. These cards are pristine. They have not been played. You can see there's no soiling of any of these cards. They're beautiful. Billingham, a C. Norman, a better pitcher, I guess, a B. T-Bone Hall, a D. Kirby, A B pitcher. Nelson, is he going to be an extra player? Looks like Spider Nelson. Roger Nelson will be an extra player, and they're sticking. Another extra player is Dick Bainey. Another extra player is Tom Carroll, and that's it. Hawk Carroll, Clay Carroll. He's an A relief pitcher. Don Gullett, a B. Pedro Borbon, a relief pitcher, a B. Now here comes the starting lineup. Remember, this team won 98 games, but still lost to the Dodgers. They were 4 games out. The Dodgers won 102 that season. So Johnny Bench, a 9. He's a top-rated catcher with good power. Concepcion, a top-rated shortstop. George Foster, some power, not great power, but he's a decent outfielder. Dreesen, I believe, was a back. Oh, no, he played every day with a 1. Look at that. He's got a 7 at 22, 7 at 44, so he can hit. He's got a 9 at 35. Kind of 300 hitter type. 280, 290, 300 when you're looking at that 9 at 35. Pete Rose, 3 outfielder. This guy could play every position. I believe in 75 he's playing left field. He's got a 7, 7, and no 9, but he's got a ton of walks, so probably batted less than 300. Ken Griffey, stealing bases at 11 and 15. That's what he's got. Geronimo, another outstanding outfielder. So you know that these guys are going to be a 1 fielding column, and they're going to get advantages. If you watch my fielding videos, my APA board game videos, you can see how that works. I've got something called Run Around First board, APA Run Around First. Joe Morgan, again, a top-of-the-line second baseman. An 8 or a 9, I believe, is in the fielding column 1. He's got good power. He steals bases like crazy. He steals bases with nobody on base. He walks, he steals a base. Of course, he's got the 11s, so he must have had a ton of stolen bases. And the dog, the Beto, rough. Tony Perez, the first baseman, an okay first baseman, not great by any means, but he does have some power, does have that 5 at 11. That's a home run with a runner on first. And that is the second place Cincinnati Reds. Beautiful cards, gorgeous, never played for or with. And of course, they were beaten out by the Angels. The Angels with one of my favorite players of all time, Bill Buckner. I have him on one of my league teams. Ron Say with good power in 74. Willie Crawford is on this team, not a very good outfielder. Probably they used him as a pinch hitter. Oh, he's got a 9 at 35, so he probably batted near 300. Al Downing, a pitcher. Catcher Ferguson with power. Look at that. He's got a 1 and a 5, so he's hitting some home runs. He can also play the outfield. I thought he was better than a 1, but Steve Garvey is coming into his own. He's getting some power. Look at that. He's got 9 at 35, 9 at 42. Doesn't walk very much, so they have to give him that extra 9. So if you have a high batting average, but or a decent batting average, but you don't walk very much, then they got to give you the extra 9. Charlie Huff, he's one of the relief pitchers. Tommy John, one of the starters. Von Joshua, I remember him with the Brewers. Later on, he goes to the Brewers. He's got some stolen bases at 15 and 25. He's a J3, so he doesn't play all that much. Lee Lacy, with not really much power, hit some doubles. Not a very good fielder either. Davey Lopes, not a very good fielder, but he's got a ton of stolen bases. Oh, man. He's got an 11 at 15, an 11 at 25, an 11 at 51. He's got a 10 at 31, so but he doesn't have any of those walk and the asterisk with the walk where he walks and then he steals a base. Mike Marshall, is this not the year that Mike Marshall had like 110 relief appearances? He pitched like 300 innings as a relief pitcher. Let me take a quick peek here. Yeah, so Mike Marshall had 83 games finished. I believe he pitched over 100 games that season. Messersmith has a great season. He's a B with an X and a Z, so he'll give you a lot of good outings. Tom Paciorek, not a very good outfielder. Not a very good hitter. Doug Rao, C. Bill Russell starts coming into his own. He can play outfield. He can play shortstop. Don Sutton had a good season at a B. the toy cannon Jimmy Wynn, 2, and with good power. Look at that. He's got a 1 at 66, a 5 at 33, and a 5 at 11. So he's got good power. Jeffrey Zahn. Now you're going to get the extra player. One extra player is James Brewer. He's a C. Manny Mota is another extra player who gets a ton of hits. He's got a 9 at 35. Got a couple of walk numbers. So he's a good pinch hitter. Not a good fielder at all. Ken McMullen, who's a good third baseman. Doesn't play very much, but does have some power. It's a home run out of 1 and out of 5 on 11. Rick Auerbach plays all over the infield, not very good defensively, and I covered the other guys. So that is the first place team, the Dodgers. Let's look at the Yankees, and then we'll finish this unboxing up. Sparky Lyle, an A reliever, so he's definitely coming into his own. An old Boston Red Sox, now a Yankee. Rick Dempsey, terrible, out of 5. He's an extra player. Pat Dobson, a B starter, so he's pretty good. Willie Upshaw is a B with for relief. And this is Wallace is going to be an extra player at a CYW. Larry Gura, who becomes a heck of a pitcher later on with the Kansas City Royals. He's going to be a C. Dick Tidrow, not very good that season. Maybe has a 4 ERA. Rudy Mays, a C. Stottlemyre did not have a good season. He's a D. But Doc Medich, look at him. He's got a B there. So Jimmy Mason, he's an 8 shortstop. And Greg Nettles at the top of his game. Defensive expert with a 5 at third base, and he's starting to develop his good power with a 1 at Yankee Stadium, left-handed hitter. It works. Lou Piniella. So if the Yanks faced a lot of lefties, Lou Piniella will come in there and he could hit. Look at that. Didn't walk very much, but definitely an aggressive hitter with 9s at 35 and 42. Bobby Mercer, an excellent outfielder out of 3. He played center field, I believe. Not a great season, not a lot of power, not anything very much, but a good season overall. Elliot Maddox gets a 3 outfield. Holy smoke. So he's at the top of the line as a fielder. He did have a tendency to walk a ton. Look at that. He has a walk at 61, a walk at 64. So he walks a lot in 74. I have him on my team, my IP League, Liberty League, Inside Pitch League. Then I have Sandy Alomar. He plays second base, shortstop, third base. He came over for the California Angels at the end of this season. Thurman Munson, what can I say? Outstanding catcher. I only gave him an 8, so he's like a 2 fielding catcher. I thought he should be better than that, but definitely can hit every year. He hits pretty good every year. Chris Chambliss comes from the Indians in 74, and he comes into his own and hits a big home run in that 76 series 2 years later. Roy White, he's very consistent, steals some bases, hits some, has a little bit of power, not too much, but he plays all season long, and he's very consistent, does his job in the outfield. Ron Blomberg had a couple of amazing years. 74, I think, is a very good hitting year for Blomberg. Has good power, has some triples, has some doubles, has some 7s. So 7s are good for runners in scoring position for sure. So you want to bring him up with runners in scoring. Gene Michael, the stick, switch hitter. Fernando Gonzalez, an extra player, terrible infielder. Sudeikis, again, a guy who can play all over, not a very good player at all. Does have a little bit of power if you can get to his 11 or 66-0 and then the second column. Alex Johnson, who had a couple of great seasons, but was a little bit of a head case. He's not a good outfielder, and hits okay. He's got 7s, a bunch of 7s, and then 3 7s, and then of course a couple of 8s, and 11, and a 7 at 44. So he has a good season for the Yankees. Here you got another extra player, Larry Gura. I think I mentioned these guys. And that's it for this unboxing. A little bit of 1974 classic. As you can see, these sets are gorgeous, and I gave you some reasons. Let's look at some offensive reasons before we end the video. Let's look at some offensive reasons for playing 1974, for getting this season. Now, if you're starting with that, but it's always good to go with the classic seasons. I really like the classic seasons better than the modern seasons. I don't like stats on my cards. I'm just old school that way. and you can get these for between, anywhere between 25 low and 100 high, depending on the season. But you get some really, really good deals. Let's see, Rod Carew, batting average, Rod Carew 364. Let's see if we can find his card. What a 364 hitter looks like. Another pristine, gorgeous. Blyleven has a good season for the Twins. Bergmeyer, not so good. Soupy Campbell, Bill Campbell. Here's Rod Carew. Let's look at his card. 364 card. You get a 7 at 33, 7 at 55. You get an 8 at 35, a 9 at 42. You got a 9 at 64. So this boy can hit. He's got a bunch of walks. A walk there. He's got a walk at 62, a walk at 56, a walk at 13. So he walks, he hits, does it all. Plays a 2, kind of a middle of the road second base, but he's fast and steals bases. So this is a great player to have. Let's see the batting average. Major League batting average. Gart with 353. He played for Atlanta. Then it was Oliver with Pittsburgh, 321. Orta with the White Sox at 316. Gross with Houston, 314. Buckner, 314 with the Dodgers. Matlock, 313 with the Cubs. Zisk, Pittsburgh, 313. Garvey, 312. And McRae, 310. Very fascinating. 1974. A little bit before my time. My first season was 76. I don't remember. I'm hazy on 74 as a kid, but I definitely remember 76 and 77 for sure. This is Tony Porter, Cards and Dice TV. Like and subscribe to my channel. Hope you enjoyed the inauthentic or counterfeit unboxing. Remember to join Universal Baseball Association Facebook group, and I will see you guys soon. Thanks for watching.